Mr. Wall was going to help his stepdaughter, Laura Anderson, who is another victim in the case. She was purchasing or selling some furniture. This occurred right across the road from Miss Anderson's father's business. Mr. Walters rear-ended the vehicle. Miss Anderson was already at the residence that Mr. Wall was turning into, and Mr. McConnell, the victim of the attempted murder, was there as well. There was some sort of discussion regarding whose fault the accident was. I think the evidence from Mr. McConnell will show that Mr. Walters was upset and highly upset about the accident. His driver's license was suspended at the time. When there was a mention of the police being called, Mr. Walters went back to the vehicle, retrieved a firearm from the vehicle, and began shooting. He shot and killed Mr. Wall, also shot Laura Anderson, who was 21 years old. Mr. McConnell was also shot. Mr. McConnell believes that the gun jammed, and Mr. Walters chased him and began beating him in the head with the weapon. So that's where the attempted murder charge came from. There were witnesses that were nearby who began to come on scene. Mr. Walters fled into the woods. He was located not very long after, headed towards Andrews. Some citizens called in tips, seeing him near the wood line. He eventually told them what he had done with the weapon, and it was recovered. Your Honor, he gave a statement after Miranda, initially indicating that someone else had been driving the vehicle, a cousin of his, and had committed the crime. He did eventually admit that he was the shooter and that he had shot both of the individuals who tried to claim or made some allegations of self-defense. Your Honor, it is the state's position that he is a danger to the community and a flight risk. That I, Paul McConnell, is the only survivor of this horrible crime and in fear of my life and my family's life. I feel very strongly that if there was one more bullet, he would have killed me as well. He does not deserve bond, as I still have injuries that are not better. I still need more surgery, and I have my arm is messed up bad. A bullet is still in my back. That is a daily reminder of the horrible act this man did to me.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Adam Anderson. Laura Anderson was my 21-year-old daughter. The defendant shot and killed her and her stepfather in cold blood over a minor traffic accident, a situation that proves he is a violent, cold-hearted killer. A traffic accident that any rational person would consider a minor inconvenience led him to kill two innocent people and attempt to kill a third. My business is across the street from where this occurred, and it was my surveillance video that captured the incident on camera. I was there and saw a good portion of what happened, and I was one of the first people to arrive on the scene. The defendant knows this. If he could so callously murder over a traffic accident, what is to prevent him from trying to eliminate me or any other witness? What is to prevent him from trying to flee and killing anyone that stands in his way? He is a danger to the community. What does he have to lose at this point? This man does not deserve bond. Nick Wall was a good man, a family man. He was just trying to help his stepdaughter, Laura. Laura was a 21-year-old kid trying to find her way. A college student that wanted to be a teacher like her mom. Paul McConnell was just a witness to the defendant's actions. The only way Paul survived is that the defendant ran out of bullets. And he still almost killed him by beating him with the gun. And all of this is backed up by witnesses and video evidence. Anyone that saw what happened would surely fear for their life if the defendant was released on bond. It would only deepen this tragedy for all of the victims and their families. I respectfully ask that you deny bond in this case.
On Monday, August 24th, 2020, my life changed forever. My daughter Laura and husband Nick taken from me in a senseless act resulting from road rage. They were defenseless and without weapons. Every morning when I wake up, I look over and see the empty space next to me in bed. I remember that my husband's not there to begin our day together. I go to make the coffee and remember I don't need to make enough to share with my husband and daughter. Laura won't be stopping in to get a cup. Daily I pass the home she was just days from moving into. I see the 2 crosses that represent where they were murdered. Her car should be there instead. I long to get my usual texts and calls from them. My phone log is still filled with the last calls and messages that day. The day continuously causes me anxiety and sadness. I go to bed every night thinking about that day. I envision what happened, which leads to sleepless nights, headaches, and nightmares. I cry quite often. It hasn't gotten any easier. My daughter with special needs wonders why her sister's no longer around. She sings the Barney songs. I love my sister all the time. She misses spending time with her. Our nephew, who we have been raising since he was a baby, lost a sister and the only dad he's ever known. They were a very important part of his life. Laura was barely 21. She was about to move into her first home, paid for with her own money. She was teaching Sunday school and in college to become an elementary school teacher. She wanted to make a positive difference in the world. Her smile would light up a room. She would do anything for anyone. She dreamed of her wedding day and of having kids of her own. Her life was just beginning. Car accidents happen daily. It's not a normal reaction to kill innocent people involved. My husband was rear-ended and my daughter was standing in her own yard. Tysheem Walters killed them and attempted to kill a third, a witness to his crime. He tried to flee the scene. He is a flight risk. He was a flight risk then and is a flight risk now. I am in fear for myself and my other children. Additionally, he's been involved in the mob-related incident in jail. If he can't sustain from such actions in a controlled setting with supervision, he's prone to violence and a threat to society. In closing, I plead to your honor on behalf of my murdered daughter and husband. Tysheem Walters should not be allowed bond. My family and I relive this tragedy daily. The holidays are a time to spend with family. Laura and Nick were not here and will never share another holiday with me again. Therefore, Tysheem Walters should never be allowed another holiday with his family or as a free individual. He made a decision to take innocent lives and should stay in jail because of that. He is a danger to society.
Whether the actions as charged were to eliminate witnesses to a traffic accident or not, and I have some difficulty with that being a motivation, quite frankly. But the difficulty that even that motivation might not exist enhances the likelihood of danger to the community, because in the absence of that motivation, apparently there would be no motivation at all, which makes the predictability of Mr. Walters' conduct in the future even more difficult to provide protection for. The motion to set bond is respectfully denied. We'll stand in recess for about 10 minutes, folks, while we make some changes to get ready for the next.
And I believe the clerk of court, Mayor Cornbore,